We're going to be reading aloud today information relating to this 1948 Superman serial, directed by Spencer Gordon Bennet and Thomas Carr. Superman is a 1948 15-part Columbia Pictures film serial based on the comic book character Superman. It stars an uncredited Kirk Alyn, billed on screen only by his character's name, Superman, but credited as Kirk Alyn on the promotional posters, and Noel Neill as Lois Lane. Like Batman 1943, it is notable as the first live-action appearance of Superman on film and for the longevity of its distribution. The serial was directed by Thomas Carr, who later directed many early episodes of the Adventures of Superman television series, and Spencer Gordon Bennet, produced by Sam Katzman and shot in and around Los Angeles, California. It was originally screened at movie matinees, and after the first 3 scene-setting chapters, every episode ends in a cliffhanger. The Superman in-flight scenes are animations, in part due to the small production budget. It was a tremendous financial success and played in first-run theatres that had never before booked a serial. The serial was a popular success that made Kirk Alyn famous and launched Noel Neill's career. A sequel serial, Atom Man vs. Superman, also directed by Bennet, was released in 1950. Republic Pictures had tried twice to produce a Superman serial. The first attempt was replaced by Mysterious Dr. Satan in 1940 when licensing negotiations with Superman publisher National Comics, later called DC Comics, failed. A second attempt was advertised for a 1941 release, but this time 2 obstacles doomed production. National Comics insisted on absolute control of the script and production, and the rights to Superman were already committed to the Paramount cartoon series. Sam Katzman acquired the live-action rights in 1947. He tried to sell them to Universal, but they no longer made serials by then. He also tried to sell to Republic, but they claimed that a super powerful flying hero would be impossible to adapt, despite having already successfully done just that with Adventures of Captain Marvel in 1941. Also, Republic was no longer buying properties for adaptation by 1947. Columbia accepted the offer. Sam Katzman found Kirk Alyn after looking through photographs, but had a hard time selling the idea of casting Alyn to Whitney Ellsworth, National Comics representative on the project. This was made even worse when Alyn came in for a screen test, sporting a goatee and moustache, as he was also shooting another project, a historical film. These initial reservations were eventually overcome, and Alyn got the part. Columbia's advertising claimed that it could not get an actor to fill the role, so it had hired Superman himself, and Kirk Alyn was merely playing Clark Kent. George Plimpton added a joke to the script, substituting the Lone Ranger's Hi-Yo Silver for the traditional Up, Up and Away. This did not survive in the script long enough to actually be filmed. The Superman costume was grey and brown instead of blue and red, because those colours photographed better on black and white film. It was never explained why his costume is shown as red and green on the one-sheet posters. Episode 1, Superman Comes to Earth, features a line delivered by Edward Cassidy as Aben Kent to Kirk Alyn as foster son Clark Kent. Because of these great powers, your speed and strength, your X-ray vision and super-sensitive hearing, you have a great responsibility. 14 years later, Stan Lee's Amazing Fantasy number 15 introduced Spider-Man and popularized the motto, with great power comes great responsibility. Superman's flight sequences were animated instead of live-action or model work. Harmon and Glutt consider this to be the weakest point of the serial, explaining that the effects created by Republic for Captain Marvel were very convincing. Even the more routine ones for the Superman TV series, always showing the same pose, were better. While there were other effective special effects, in their opinion they were undermined by the poorness of the flying sequences. The film crew did test an alternative method of filming the flying sequences. Kirk Alyn spent an entire day painfully suspended by visible wires in front of a rear projection of moving clouds. Displeased with the results, Katzman fired the entire flight sequence production staff and used the animated method instead. A peculiar characteristic of the mix of animated and live-action footage is that Superman's takeoffs are almost always visible in the foreground, while his landings almost always occur behind objects, such as parked cars, rocks, and buildings. It was easier to shift from live footage of Kirk Alyn starting to take off to animated footage than it was to shift from an animated landing to live footage of the actor. As a consequence of the need to hide Superman's landing, Superman frequently lands at some distance from where he wants to be and must run to arrive on scene. Budget limitations also dictated the frequent reuse of film footage, especially scenes of Superman flying. For example, one sequence showing Superman flying over a rocky hill, a shot of Stony Point in Southern California's San Fernando Valley, was used at least once in almost every episode of the first serial. Alyn's stunt double was Paul Stader. He had to perform only one stunt in the entire serial, leaping from the back of a truck. He almost broke his leg during this stunt and had to leave the production. And I think we'll close it here. This is the first episode of that Superman serial from 48 sped up. Thanks again, everyone. Appreciate it very immensely.